Welcome to Make Something Happen 41. I have to give the number at the beginning, and I'm doing my best to make these interesting, folks, so just go with me, okay? Number 41. This is all about recording a response, and if you've done the last 2 or 3, you'll have worked through the workflow of the application with me. We've got our survey topic entered. We've given the options for the survey, what kind of pizza we want to have, and now we're doing the point where the user presses the radio button to pick the option they want and then saves it. So what I'm going to do is put a breakpoint at line 75. Here we go, which is in the handler for the record selection route inside my application. So now if I go back here and I reload, let's start the application running, because that's always a good thing to do. I'm picking up from where I left off because that's, I guess, what you will do when you're reading this book. And so here we go, the server is running. I have a breakpoint at line 75. I've removed all the other breakpoints, so I can now go through here. I can type in Rob's Pizza. I can type in open. It will then, because it hasn't seen this survey before, it will ask me to enter all the options, and because I previously typed them, Edge does a wonderful job of giving me the option to fill things in. If I now hit start, then that starts the survey. Okay, now we're doing the survey. The survey is now in progress, and I'm going to vote for pepperoni, and the code we have just put a breakpoint in is the bit that handles the situation where the user clicks send to send the option they have chosen. Let's do that. Click. The browser stops, Studio Code wakes up and says, okay, let's run. So now we've seen this pattern before. The topic is added on the end of the URL. So if I step down one statement, I'll find that my topic has been set to, guess what, Rob's Pizza. So what will happen now is it'll say, I actually need to find the survey with that name. And it should always be there because this is being generated by code produced by a page bound to it. So if I now hit OK, then it'll return that. So it's going now into the surveys class, finding the topic and then returning it. So I shall step out with that answer, and survey now contains my survey, which has got 5 options and a topic of Rob Pizza, and it's all what it should be. Notice that if it is undefined, I send back an error response from the page saying I couldn't find this survey, and I use the indomitable, that's a good phrase, I'm using the magic number 404, which is the way that HTML signals the fact that a page was not found. So that should never happen. This is a thing which, because the program always works correctly, that should never happen. It would happen if it got out of step with itself, so I'll put that in there and the user would see that and respond accordingly. So now if I go for, in fact, I'll show you how we can try and break that in a second, but for now let's keep going because we're following what's euphemistically called the happy path, the path where everything works. So now I can ask my body, if we look at the way that this works, I get a reply from the form. If we go into the browser and we ask it to show us the source, here we go, then we can see that there's a form action is a post, that's fine, and the input type to be sent back is the radio button, and that will send back a result which will then be picked up from the post by the code running inside my page. Here it is, which is called selections, and that's because that name appears here. So all these buttons are called selections. That's how they're bound together. And when we hit the submit button, whichever one of these is selected, it pulls the name of that thing, pepperoni, margarita, chicken, ham and pineapple, mushroom, whatever, and it's the value, I apologize, not the name. It pulls the value of that thing, which is the same in this situation, and sends it back. So now if I go into, and I step over this statement, I'll find the options that's been selected is pepperoni, because that's what I clicked. Okay, so now I have to say to the survey, hey, increment the count for pepperoni, please. And if I step in here, we can watch it find the option, add one to it, and then return. Let's do that. In we go. There you go. So first we have to find the option, which in this case is the option with the text pepperoni and the count of 0. We then want to sort of, once we've got that, we then increment the count for that. So we keep on going. It's found it. So now we're going to increment count, and inside here we make the count 1 bigger. The count's gone up. We come out again and we return, and that's it. I now get the counts and render them. Now the get counts function returns an object that contains the count information, which is the text for the option, and the count for the option as an array of things. So we can watch this now build the various options. There you go. It's getting the count value, putting it in, pushing it onto the list. So my options now contains a thing which contains text margarita, count equals 0, and it'll keep on doing that. If I put a breakpoint here, I can sort of speed up, whoosh, all the way through. And what I can do now is I can actually look at what result contains, which is 5 options, which are margarita, pepperoni, chicken, ham and pineapple, mushroom. And this is a copy, this is a snapshot of the data in the source object, because I'm very careful about giving people access to the raw data objects in my system. I'd rather give them just little lumps of data they can use to do their job and keep it that way. So that's what's happening here. If I now continue the program running on, I can come back from there with that. Here we go. And now we have to call render with the display results page. Aha, you say. What does that do? Well, let's take a look, shall we? Start with looking at the actual page itself. Here we go. And this one, here it is. It's another loop inside the page. We're running JavaScript again inside the HTML for our results page. And this says for each option that you've got, give the text and the count, which we've carefully assembled, which has seen that being built. So if I let this run on, then the program will continue. Everything in the garden should be lovely. And if I go back here and I go into here, I should see that, yeah, there's pepperoni now has 1 on it. Chicken is 0, ham and pineapple is 0, mushroom is 0. If I open another tab and I go to localhost 8080 index, this one here in fact, go, then I can type in Rob's Pizza and hit open, and it'll say I've got the topic, but this time it doesn't give me the option to make the survey because the survey is already there. So now I can vote for ham and pineapple. I've no idea why, but I could. And I hit send, and now I'm going to get a reply. Oh, it's hit the same breakpoint. Ha, of course it has. Still there. Run on. There's a good lad. And it hits this breakpoint. So I'll clear that breakpoint and run on. There you go. And now if I go back to the web page, I've got 1 vote for pepperoni, 1 for ham and pineapple. Now, what I was talking about the possibility for invalid stuff is if we look at this page here, we said that if you we're using it's in Tiny Survey, and we're using the topic to actually find the survey, so that the topic is like our key, if you like. It's the way we get hold of it. And so if we go to record selection Rob's Pizza, we'll get the options for Rob's Pizza. But what happens if I try and subvert the system? So I'm going to go back one. I've got to type in, get this right, record selection. So I go into here and I go, people do this kind of thing. Record selection Rob's Pizza we know will work, but what happens if we try and do record selection naughty? What will happen now? Well, let's have a look. It tells me I can't find it. That's because this path in the program has been followed. It's actually gone, I can't find that one. So at that point, we've actually had this message appear instead. So that shows you that if people, this is not, if someone does something stupid like this, they're trying to attack my system. They're not actually, this isn't a mistake. This is somebody potentially being malicious. And it's kind of useful if my program behaves sensibly in that context. One of the ways you can attack a web site is by putting in invalid things like this and then hoping that the way it fails will tell you something interesting about how it works, or maybe even put it into a mode where you can fiddle with bits and pieces. But our system seems to be quite reliable. If I can't find a survey that matches the topic, I'll just send you back a 404 page with survey not found in it, and serve you right. Does that make sense? I think it does. So there you go. And that's the end of that. And so now that's all the stuff for chapter 8. On to chapter 9. Thank you.